Alright, so I am going to be reworking one particular panel on Age of Night, chapter 22, page 3. I drew a good portion of this page live on a Friday afternoon art stream, but I've got one particular panel that was giving me grief. I didn't really like how the gesture was coming out, and I realized that what I needed to do was shoot some reference and get something that actually worked and made a little more sense. I knew what I wanted, this figure leaning up against a wall. This is Kamaria, one of the main characters in my comic. She's leaning up against a wall here. It's supposed to show that she's, just dragging herself forward, fatigued. But this gesture wasn't really working. It looked kind of lumpy and not quite right. So, while I can usually get away with a lot of figure work without having to use reference, I've got all the rest of the figures on this page I didn't use reference for. I just drew from my head, but this particular gesture was giving me enough trouble that I went and took a rather goofy picture of myself and printed it off. Used the delayed time setting on my webcam here. Hello. Took a picture of myself, lightened it up in Photoshop, and flipped it around so that it was going the right way for what I needed, and realized a lot of things about why this one isn't working. So while I may not have my final drawing look exactly like this, I'm going to have this right off to the side here while I rework this panel to give me a better idea of what it is that I need to be doing with this figure. So first of all, I'm going to erase most of this figure because he's wrong. I'm not going to quite super hard erase all of it. I still want to ghost those lines there so that I know where the new figure belongs. And as always, I'm doing my drawing in Prismacolor Colorase 20044 blue. Not to be confused with non-reprographic blue, which is horrible for your eyes and is not actually non-reprographic anyway because scanners are too good these days. But it's a nice bright blue that's easy for me to see, but also easy for me to grab in Photoshop and eliminate for when I'm at the inking, after I'm done inking. Alright, so we've got, I kind of wanted to leave those ghosts of a line there so that I have my, that's still not right, let's try that again. Still not getting the angle quite right for my reference. Not that I want it to be exactly the same, but I like the angle that I got there on the head. Okay. So now it's a little scribbly, but now you can see that this gesture more closely resembles the reference that I took. And it's a lot more natural looking. There was a lot of weird jumbliness going on with the limbs and the one that I tried to come up with off the top of my head, and it wasn't really working. So now we're going to go in and refine this a little bit. Start adding some details. Okay, so now I've gotten, this drawing is a lot more refined. We've got a lot more specific forms. I've got, individual fingers, individual facial features, some of the folds of her clothes, but it's still kind of a big, rough, sketchy mess. So now I'm going to go through and, well, I gotta sharpen my pencil before I continue. But now I'm going to go through and I'm going to refine all of this further. I'll be erasing a lot as I go to clean this up, but this is where I'm going to get this to be a more finished drawing, which will pretty much be as finished as it's going to get before I ink it. Realistically, my pencils are what a lot of people would call tight roughs. I don't pencil them to the level of finished pencils like you would if you were a professional penciler then handing it off to an inker, because I ink my own work, so there's no need for me to nail down every little detail that I'm going to ultimately be nailing down in the inks that I myself am doing. So I don't need that detailed a roadmap, because really the inking is the finishing of the drawing as far as I'm concerned. So now we're going to go ahead and tighten some of this up. And you see that I pretty much erase a lot of this. I can still see it though. Like I don't completely erase it, so I can still see a guideline of where those pencil marks were. And then if I've got stray ones afterwards, I clean them up. There we go. Alright. So I went from a really scribbly, not even remotely accurate looking gesture to now I have a nice, pretty accurate, pretty good looking, actually probably way more effective panel, since I just took a couple minutes, did a little bit of reference. You can see it's not exactly the same as the reference I took, but the reference gave me a really good jumping off point in order to rework this panel, and now it looks much better than my scribbly gesture did earlier. And you'll be able to see this page of Age of Night on ageofnight.com in a few weeks. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time.